Originally, this was supposed to be a different funk track, specifically the very first one I uploaded to my channel. If I don't forget, it will also play in the background. But since it was one of my first funk tracks in this genre, the project had a lot of unnecessary elements that overloaded it and made it genuinely comical. So I decided to completely redo everything and create an entirely new funk track in this format. Enjoy the video. Hello! You clicked on this video because you want to learn how to make a song like this, right? Now let's record the song. Before we start creating, we need to decide on the BPM for this type of track. The BPM will be roughly between 110 and 140. I'll choose 125, as I don't want it to sound too fast. The first thing to do for a track like this is to create chords on the piano. Use any plugin you like. For clarity, I'll use FL keys. With the help of hints, we can choose the key of the melody, which will make it sound much better, or you can just rely on your ear. Choose a key you like, and starting from the lower notes, write chords in the rhythmic style of Brazilian funk. In this genre, it's not a mistake to have 3 to 4 notes in the chords. This will give a denser sound, but I decided not to overload the track and kept only 3 notes. Copy and adjust the notes by ear. For clarity, I'll leave a part of the video where I write the chords. After writing the chords, you can diversify them a bit, which will add some interesting sound. Pull in FL keys and write bass notes based on the piano melody notes, lowering them by an octave. Nothing complicated here. You can also make them slightly more varied, or leave them straightforward. Personally, I prefer a more straightforward option, so I'll leave them as is and not change anything. Next, choose a sample for the main melody, and copy the notes from the first piano into this new pattern. Some also use the Z beta sample for a more electronic sound, but it doesn't always fit, so you have complete freedom here. From my experience, the sample from Eclectica Nanolicita also works great. I also took a white noise sound from Serum to make the sound even more ringing and put everything on one track. Finally, take either the same sample from the previous melody, or choose a different one. All the materials I use will be published in my Telegram channel, link in the description. You can copy the notes from the first piano melody and diversify them somehow, or write from scratch entirely. There are no strict rules here, but I recommend trying to maintain the key, which I'm not good at, and ensuring the melody blends well with the other samples. I also wrote another simple melody and thought about using it somewhere, but in the end I just left it. Now, let's move on to the juiciest part, without which this wouldn't sound so amazing, the hardstyle kick. I took 4 kicks. 1 and 2 are 2 standard ones that complement each other perfectly. 3 is an impact type kick. And 4 is a regular kick. Simply place each one linearly according to the bass notes, and you're done. Also, don't forget to set the root note in the editor, or it will sound very bad. On top of the hardstyle kick, add a regular kick for some heavy meat. All that's left is to chop up an acapella on top and add effects. Yes, it's that simple. Even someone like me can write something that'll make people nod their heads like a helicopter propeller. If you need a guide on creating such an acapella, let me know. I usually don't do this, But now, without explanation, I'll show you which effects I used and where, so there are no questions. Let's move on to processing. Main piano chords, simply cut the highs and lows since they're not needed here, and slightly boosted the mids. For the bass notes, I did roughly the same thing. Main melody, used an EQ to remove the lows, slightly boosted the mids and highs. Then added Destructor with the lo-fi plugin for a more pixelated sound. I thought it would work better in this track, but this is optional. You can simply add Camel Crusher or Fast Dist for dirt. Finally, added reverb for a more spacious sound and delay if desired. Secondary chords, used an EQ to remove the lows and slightly reduce the mids. Also boosted the highs. Added Fast Dist for a more distorted sound, and Fruity compressors slightly compressed them so they don't stand out too much. 2 hardstyle kick, I put them on one track and processed them. Added sub-frequencies and highs. Slightly reduced the mids. Used Sausage Fattener for a denser sound and Blood Overdrive to completely blow your mind. Vocal, used an EQ to remove the lows and slightly reduce the highs. Then added Camel Crusher and reverb at the end. On the master, Camel Crusher with the British Clean preset. OTT with depth at 22%. Ozone Imager with the Gentle Width preset. Fresh Air for even more spaciousness. And a Soft Clipper. I did the sidechain using automation. For automation, I adjusted the volume at the beginning and end. I decided to try making the entire track mono in some parts, which I think turned out pretty well and adds dynamics to those moments. And finally, Endless Smile for spaciousness and drive. Before I show you the result, please subscribe to my Telegram channel. Lots of useful information. FLP projects. And I also have my own TikTok. Soon I plan to release my music on platforms. But for that, I need your support. Let's move on to the final part.
Não tem como soltar, mas fazer o chão tremer.